Tunavites, week 1 is in the books. I was going to say, Tunavites, that, I was going to highlight the fact that the Camerons, dominated week 1 and that we can all just, forget the rest of the season. Let's end the show. Let's get up and go. But Josh had to say something on the message board. So here we are. We're going to stay with it the whole season. So we're not going to give up. Never
That's right.
surrender. What's up, Richard?
Hey, not much. How are you doing, Reed? You had a week 1 victory.
Yes.
So congratulations to your week 1. You were the 3rd highest scorer in our division. So congratulations to that.
I had to point that out. Yeah, I know. It's good. Hey, win's a win. So I'm happy with it. So
yep. Good. Well, hey, Tunavites, we are doing a brand new segment this year, and it's called The Good, the Bad, and the Smelly. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and highlight something good that happened during the week, to something bad that happened during the week, and something that just really stunk it up as far as the fantasy football and the week 1 results. So we're going to go ahead and start with the good. And because this is our show and it's my segment, I'm going to go ahead and start this segment off with a good of week 1 victory out for Josh Jacobs. Hallelujah. He proved me right that it was worth trading for him. And I am super excited and happy that I got him because he was the best running back of the week 1. And I can't complain. Even though I lost, I can't complain about his performance. It was awesome. So kudos to me. We're going to go to the bad. The bad, Browns offense. What happened? Where'd they go? They were supposed to be great. Baker Mayfield was supposed to be awesome. Baker Mayfield looked like Mitch Trubisky, who was terrible. He was awful. Nick Chubb had barely anything. Odell Beckham looked pissed off the entire time. Landry looks like a professional every time he plays. But what happened? Come on. I mean, is this a running back by committee now with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb? This is just ridiculous. So bad offense altogether. I really hope they turn it around because there's some good offense pieces there that they just need to get it together. Now we're going to go to Smelly. And Aaron, I think you know where I'm coming from when I say, why the heck did you start Jack Doyle instead of Noah Fant? It cost you the match. You would have beaten your foe. You would have beaten PC. You would have won if you didn't do that smelly stinker of a start. And that is what I call the good, the bad, and the smelly.
Wow. Very good, Richard. Very good. You started out with the good, and it was Josh Jacobs, and I thought, oh man, this is all Richard here now. And then no, that was pretty good. I can't argue with that. I can't argue that. Although, I guess we could technically put the Browns with the smelly because it was smelly. Their performance was oof.
True.
That's good.
Well, there'd probably be one smelly, and Aaron deserves it.
Yeah, it's already tough enough when you lose a high scoring game like that and you're one of the high scorers, but then when you have like a move like that, when that happens, that's just that's tough. That's tough. All right, Richard. Well, let's just get into it. Let's kind of recap week 1's action, and I'm anxious to get your thoughts on week 1.
Week 1 was awesome. I loved it. I have NFL Game Pass, so I was watching Red Zone the entire time and just watching scoring after scoring after scoring by Josh Jacobs. No, I was watching all the games. I was pleasantly surprised by the Jags winning in just the overall scores within the NFL and just having everything come back. Getting a little bit more football back in my life has been awesome. This week, we did our predictions last week. We're going to do them again this week. You guys stay tuned for that. But last week, you and I went 2-4. So we kind of we don't. It almost seems like we don't know what we're talking about, but but maybe that's true. But there were surprises on how many points certain teams got and how it worked out. So I thought maybe we could go with the whiteout that we called it. Reed, you and I both, I think, took Daryl in this, and we were wrong.
Yes.
Mainly, Dak Prescott didn't show up as much as we thought he would. And I think and T.Y. Hilton didn't get a touchdown. I think those two things really back. We knew Roethlisberger was going to go off, and he did. But kudos to Dwayne. He was able to pull out that win against his brother. And hey, he's a 1-0 victory right now in the league, so far in the league.
Yeah, that was the lowest scoring game of the week. It was not pretty. Dwayne has just had these injuries. Guys that are banged up, even going into week one. And, it was one of those. Roethlisberger, ultimately was the big difference maker for him. And he was the last, I believe, to pick a starting quarterback in our draft. So, he did great with that. And all I got to say, Daryl, okay, the Panthers defense is not good. They're not good. Okay, they're going to be bad all year. At least I think they will. They got mostly rookies starting. So that was tough. -1. If that's one thing you want to point out for Daryl and his demise, the Panthers, that anytime you get negative points from your defense, that's just a killer. So
that's bad. Yeah.
So yes, Dwayne still owns Daryl, and Daryl, the good thing is you get to play him at least one more time later in the season. So we'll see if you can get revenge on your brother.
All right. Well, let's go to PC and Aaron.
Highest scoring game.
Yeah, we're going to go from the low scoring to the high scoring. This was just a great matchup. I think when we were talking about it, we could go either way. It was tough. It was a tough pick going either way. I'm trying to remember I think we both picked Aaron in this one, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly if this was. No. That we had different wins. We both didn't.
I picked Aaron. You picked PC.
I picked PC and you picked Aaron. Okay. No. It was backwards. You picked PC and I picked Aaron. It doesn't matter. Anyway, PC won the game, won the match. He got the highest score of the week, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Outstanding job. Aaron Rodgers showing up, throwing 4 touchdowns, finding his man, Adams, with 2 touchdowns, 156 yards. He showed up, and it was impressive. And it's the biggest part of why he won the game because, if you look at the Buccaneers defense got 4 points. The kicker for PC got 2 more points than mine, which isn't saying much. So all around, both of them did a great job. It shows that they drafted really well for week 1, and kudos to both of them, even though Aaron lost.
Yes. Yeah. It was, that was entertaining. That was just looking at the scores on Sunday the score with them going up. And, Aaron had we'll talk about it a little bit, a tough Michael Thomas injury, although I guess that happened late in the game. He was just having a bad game. But, draft picks, that's what I noticed. That's one of the things, seeing people that, their draft picks really making a difference in week 1. And both of theirs did. And it was a close game. So I don't think as much as it stinks for Aaron to lose this week 1. You score that many points, you got to still feel good about, his team moving forward. Yeah,
I agree. He's, if he has one worry, it is Michael Thomas and what the future holds for one of his starting wide receivers and what he's going to be able to do to keep scoring high like he is.
Yes. Well, and I'll just say one last thing on this game. You mentioned Davante Adams. Okay, listen, he has destroyed the Minnesota Vikings defense every time he plays them. Okay, and I know this because when I played BC in the championship game last year, Davante Adams was going against the Minnesota Vikings, and I think by halftime he had 12 catches or something ridiculous. And so I'm thinking, I'm seeing this now, and I'm thinking, how do you not? Listen, Davante Adams is great. You got Aaron Rodgers, but I'm just thinking he literally every time he plays them destroys them. I'm thinking, okay, can you just give him the treatment of? It's just crazy. It was kind of funny. I'm just like, man, they just can't. They just can't.
You can't figure it out.
No.
Yeah. All right, you want to go to the Old Man Bowl and go to Donald and Bruce?
Yes, Donald and Bruce. I picked Bruce, and I was wrong. Of course, I missed most everything this week. So, but I won. That was amazing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Bruce. I mean, it was pretty. You look at his team. I mean, Le'Veon Bell. We've talked about him a lot before the season, and then he just gets hurt. It's just not good. He's on IR now, and that was again. I think out of this game, I just take away. And we talked about the biggest question for Bruce was going to be how is his running backs going to do, and this week you can just look at his running backs and say that's really what failed him. Obviously Beckham was bad as well, but I mean he got great performances from other guys. He just the running backs really hurt him. Donald really had a balanced effort from his guys, and this was a good week one. The only thing I could really, look at Donald and maybe say, okay, Keenan Allen, but I mean, for the most part, if you looked at his roster, I mean, they did good. Even his great Steelers defense pick, they still did well. So, it was a good start for Donald.
Yeah, I agree. This is the one that I got right. One of the ones I got right, I did pick Donald in this one. Tom Brady showed up enough, I think, for the Buccaneers to get some points going, and as far as fantasy points going, so that was great. Juju Smith-Schuster showed that Ben Roethlisberger makes a difference for his fantasy value. So that's an awesome pick that Donald ended up getting and really working out. PC, his running backs is really what failed him. Calvin Ridley showing up was what kept him in it with Patrick Mahomes doing what he normally does, along with Tyreek Hill. So, I think if Bruce is able to come up with a running back setup that's not on IR anymore, unfortunately, Bruce, and I'm sorry, I think his team's going to do really well because outside of that, he's got a great team. He just needs to get his running backs up to snuff. So, we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks and see if he can figure out a way to get some running backs on his team.
Absolutely. All right, who's next?
Let's go to Josh and Nathan.
Josh and Nathan.
Yep.
Wow. Richard, we haven't heard Captain Insano. I'm waiting for his weekly, show up and give us what his feeling is. But I don't know what that's going to be like. It's not going to be pretty, probably be entertaining for us, but Josh just, when you start off Thursday night and Sammy Watkins does what Sammy Watkins does when he just comes out of nowhere and has a big game, that was a great start for Josh. And, Josh just his team just did great. Other than outside of James Conner, Josh's team balled out. And, Nathan had some real stinkers, or letdowns on his team. And Nathan had guys that didn't do bad. Like Henry had a good game, but it wasn't a great game. So, when you have some guys who don't do good and then you just have some, good games but not great games from your star players, makes the difference, especially when you have an opponent who scores 151 points on you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to say. Captain Insano, he was in good spirits coming into the week one. I think he had pretty good confidence that Josh was gonna beat Josh. The Saints were able to show up this week for him. Alvin Kamara did a great job. The defense did a great job, and then it kind of just went downhill. Derrick Henry showed up, but the rest of it just I don't know what happened. DeAndre Swift that's the running back for Stafford. Dropping that last touchdown would have made it a little bit more respectable of a showing for Stafford, but not by much. It still would have lost. It still lost the game for the overall Captain Insano's team. But Josh did a fantastic job having the second tied for the second highest score of the week. Adam Thielen showing up. Shows that Diggs not being there, Thielen is going to still be a powerhouse, which is great. Zeke Elliott showing up like normal. Watson, everybody's just doing a great job for his team. He's got to be really happy with his layout right now with all of his players. So kudos to Josh. All right, let's go let's go to our division. We're going to start out with myself and Tom, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'll just go on forever. So I'll say a couple things. Mixon really let me down. Really, Cincinnati let me down.
Yes.
If I could have another bad, I would probably put Cincinnati in there. The line just wasn't there for Mixon. I thought it was going to be a lot better, but it wasn't as good. The only rushing touchdown for that team was done by the quarterback, the rookie quarterback of all people, which is frustrating as a Mixon owner. I do have high hopes for him in the future, but I really feel like Mixon not doing what he normally does is one of the reasons. And then I did a last-minute change. I changed Marvin Jones in place of Hollywood Brown. Bought into a narrative that the Ravens were going to be running a lot more than they did. The first half they were throwing it all over the place. Second half they did run it a lot. All the points that Hollywood Brown got, which was 15, was in the first half of the game. I did watch that game specifically, so I mean, it is what it is. McManus, kicker, shouldn't be in fantasy football. I mean, yeah. Aaron, can I just say? I mean, I have Josh Allen scoring 31, but Aaron Rodgers scoring 38. It's just fantastic. Makes me feel real good for my quarterbacks right now, and we'll see what Aaron Rodgers does for the future. Last year, kind of had big games and then went away, so we'll see what happens. But it was encouraging to see both quarterbacks do really well, and knowing that if either one I started, I was going to do really well for this week, so that's great.
Yeah, I think there are things, Richard. I look at your team. I mean, Josh Jacobs, you talked about in the opening. He was fantastic, sensational, whatever you want to use. And I mean, that you want to talk about at least validation and making a trade like that. He looks like he's going to be great. He's going to get fed a lot. Josh Allen, I know, Rodgers outscored him, but, as far as that being, an MVP pick for a quarterback position, he started off great. Mixon, on the other hand, he didn't make me look bad. He was not a good start. I saw Marvin Jones. When I looked at I didn't catch it because I just, assumed you had Hollywood Brown in. And when I was looking at some point Sunday, I realized you had Marvin Jones in. And, once you kind of explained that, that, hey, of course, Galladay was out. So that made sense. I could understand what, getting to that. But I was surprised because, Hollywood Brown and just, him being healthy. So, but it didn't make the difference for you. So it wasn't one of those things where, it wasn't, it wasn't one of those things. And, Jonathan just, again, off to a great start. I think Jonathan's going to be he's going to be a tough team this year to beat. I mean, again, I was sitting there Sundays like Mostert, I just go back in the draft and that was just, I mean, how he fell, to where he did and where Jonathan got him. I mean, Jonathan, sniped him and, he was one of those guys who should have gone earlier than I think he did. Whether he's going to, because the 49ers have always had these different running backs come in. So whether he's going to be like this good all season, I don't know. But, I mean, that was great. And, again, Jonathan has one of those weeks where you saw a lot of his draft picks. So Metcalf, Mostert, guys that, really helped his team, the Bills defense. Cam Newton, he ended up starting Newton over Kyler Murray. And, I mean, he's still Newton did really good. So, Jonathan's just going to be tough. He's going to be tough to beat this year. And he is dealing with some injuries. And we'll talk about that as we, look to this week, to week 2.
Yeah. Yep. I don't want to talk anymore about my loss. So.
We're going to move on.
All right, we're going to move on to the last game of the week real quick, and it's you and against John Mack. You want to talk about your win at all?
I'm going to just kind of let you take this, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about my team because everybody would just be like, Reed's raining on. But the only thing I do want to say is, Mark Andrews, let's go! All right.
Very good, very good. Your draft pick paid off. Your horn toots did fantastic with his 22 points, well deserved. But we've done enough Mark Andrews on this
True. I
show.
just had to
So
get it out. Just had to get
yeah,
it out.
I hear you. I hear you. Can I just say that Captain Insano did an excellent job predicting John Mack's score? I mean, within 1 point was impressive. So kudos to Captain Insano on that. Texas Titans, man, kickers shouldn't be in fantasy football. And 0 points. You know, I don't know what happened, but I know that John Mack dropped him this week and picked up a different kicker, and I don't blame him. I did the same thing. But moving on from that, Cooper Kupp with the Rams, disappointed. It's what happens with the Rams. It seems like only one wide receiver or one pass catcher for the Rams can score each week. And I was rooting for Kupp not to be that guy, so kind of ended up that way for me. Jarvis Landry, we talked about Cleveland and the lackluster that it did. I mean, he ended up getting 5 receptions for 6 points. For 61 yards, excuse me. Got distracted by that little notification on the right there. I didn't know it was going to do that. Don't look back. It's conversation. And Mark Ingram, he got overtaken with production by the rookie, and I think that was a big issue for John Mack with Ingram not getting as many touches, not getting as many availability to be able to run the ball. It was kind of surprising, but second half when he wasn't running the ball, and the rookie was. So I don't know what to make of that, but we'll see what happens going forward. But congratulations again, Reed. I
was just going to say on Mark Ingram. Yeah, there's concern for sure with that. I'm this is just I'm just what I'm guessing is that then this may be for the whole season. I mean, they want to get Dobbins involved because he's a special running back, or at least coming out of college. And I think they probably are going to try to preserve Mark Ingram because I think they want him, and he's valuable, and he's great when he's healthy. So probably just with him and his age as far as a running back, this may be just the pattern they take, and they want to split the work and try to keep Mark Ingram healthy so they have these great running backs. I mean, that's just maybe what it's going to be all season.
Yeah. All right, Reed, let's go on to the news and notes.
Yes, news and notes. So there's been a lot of injuries. There's a lot of injuries we talked about going into week 1, a lot of injuries coming out of this week. I mean, a lot of receivers. We talk about the running backs. We have the obvious ones, Le'Veon Bell, Marlon Mack, some of those guys that are hurt, but a lot of receivers that came into week 1 hurt, and then others that came out, big name guys. Michael Thomas, obviously the biggest name today. Chris Godwin's in concussion protocol as of today, so now he's very questionable for this next week. Devontae Parker with the hamstring. He'll be questionable probably for this week as well. But just a lot of guys. We'll have to see if Galladay is going to come back this week. So that was just something that's interesting to me. I mean, Evans played. I think. I mean, I don't know if he's fully. He ended up playing. I was surprised, but we'll see if he can play through this. The hamstring deal. That's just tough. So there's a lot of guys that were getting hurt. Cortland Sutton didn't end up playing because of his injury. So just again, we always have injuries, but there was a lot, especially to wide receivers, and then just a lot of guys that really they just either guys that were surprise performances, a lot of busts that we saw from this last week. So that made, of course, for the free agent bidding for an interesting week 1 for our free agent bidding. So if we want to pull up we got the report here, the FAAB report.
The full screen here.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So if we want to go, so Richard, if you go, you can see the full free agent. Oh wait, actually, I just went out of it. See the full FAAB report to Tunavites.
Yep.
That's how you get to see. Actually, not only just we see who won, who got the bid, but then you get to see what the bidding was for guys. Wow, Nathan. I mean, he just came out just spending money like it was nothing. I mean, don't spend it all in 1 week, Nathan. Holy moly.
That made me. I was surprised.
Yeah. Well, I figured, of course, there's going to be some big spenders. There was guys to get, a lot of players out there. It was week 1 with all the coronavirus pandemic stuff and no preseason. There maybe was a little bit more because, we just didn't have preseason to see a lot of these guys. You read a lot of reports, and then now week 1 happens. But yeah, Nathan just came out spending a ton. And there's different schools of thought, with that. A lot of times the first couple of weeks of a season, the pickups can be guys that you have for the season. They can be huge. But at the same time, it's not what it's always cracked up to be, and you got a whole season to go. So I don't know. That's always interesting to me to see how the first couple of weeks go in free agent bidding. And, we look, obviously, the highest, Malcolm Brown, $38. So,
over twice as much as the second highest.
Yeah. I kind of saw it. So Nathan really wanted him. I mean, I guess I was thinking maybe they would have the high 20s, but I wasn't thinking we were going to get over $30 for Brown. But we had 2. We had Benny Snell, Jonathan with $31 bid. And, that was, he really wanted him. And, Bruce got old man Frank Gore, and he spent $25. Nobody else went after him, but he needs a running back. So, and he's the starter. There were some other guys we can look at in the list. Paris Campbell, Nathan, basically, just $21. You had a $0 bid in, and then. Yeah, well, listen, it's part of it. And then, of course, you see down on the list, like, okay, did you bid? Sometimes you bid against yourself. You just really don't know. That's kind of the cool thing about free agent bidding. Our other league mates, looking at some of the same guys you're looking at, and then how much would they spend? Some weeks, and I've done this, where I just take, if I don't see anything and I don't feel like I need to, I'll just say I'm just going to pass and just kind of let the first run go. And I typically, Richard, just kind of sit out the first little bit. Or I shouldn't say sit out, but maybe I just don't bid as much because I know how long the season is. So actually I spent a little bit more than I usually do on some guys that I wanted, one that I didn't need to spend, but some guys that I wanted. That's, I don't know who sticks out to you on the free agents that you want to talk about.
Okay, so Benny Snell, I think, is an interesting pickup. I preferred Benny Snell over Malcolm Brown simply because I have Cam Akers, and I really buy into Cam Akers will eventually take over. And I don't really need Malcolm Brown right now, and so that's why I didn't even try to go after Malcolm Brown because I don't need somebody right now. Benny Snell, on the other hand, is the possibility with Connor being held out to get healed up is a real possibility. And Benny Snell said that he was doing really well and running really well. So I think that's going to be an interesting pickup to hold on to and see what happens with the Pittsburgh backfield. Frank Gore, it's because Le'Veon Bell went down. Bruce has Le'Veon Bell. He needed to pick him up. $25 makes sense with where Bruce is at. I don't fault him for doing that. Nobody else wanted him. I don't know the reason why, but that's what it is. Paris Campbell, I put a bid on it. I put a $0 bid on it. The only reason I did that is because even though Paris Campbell was probably my number 1 wide receiver pick, he was there's enough wide receivers out there to where I didn't feel like I needed to spend on wide receiver. And then Joshua Kelly, we both had the same thought. Joshua Kelly was going to be an interesting pickup as well, and seeing how that went forward. So that was pretty cool. I want to note, though, I'm looking at this, and if I'm reading it correctly, I think – no. Okay, no. I was about to say, I think – yeah, Nathan spend $75 worth of FAAB in week 1?
He did. Money.
Holy cow. Nathan, you reacted to your low score, I guess, and well, I hope it works out for you, man. But that's scary for me to do that. But hey, all power to you. So I hope it really
Dwayne is usually the one that really spends, in the early part of the season. Now he did put in some bids, but I think maybe just from past years he just decided, I don't need to go out all out. But yeah, Nathan really spent some money, and I'm with you on some of these picks. Malcolm Brown. I like the pickup, and right now I would say he's the guy. But I'm also kind of I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, he's the guy for now. Cam Akers still did get some work. Darrell Henderson was coming off of an injury, so I wasn't as confident. Maybe Brown will be the guy for most of the year, and that'll turn out to be, and it could be a great pickup for Nathan. But that's just, to me, it's 1 week, and I'm just not sure that it's going to be just him. But that could be, and Nathan obviously felt it was worth it. And then Benny Snell, that one's a tough one. I really liked Benny Snell. If we knew that James Conner, he was out, I would have been all in on Benny Snell. As far as just running, he's not really a pass catcher, but as running, he looked great. But I don't know. This is the problem with Conner. I liked him for his value, where you could draft him coming into the year, and the fact of just his potential. But we've been down this road so many times now, and now they're saying, well, he may just play. So I don't know. I just have this feeling it's going to be like Conner in, out, Snell in. So that one's just tough for me. It's a good pickup, and maybe Snell will end up being the guy. Maybe things will turn, but to me, it's just, I feel like it's going to be a frustrating thing with Pittsburgh's backfield this year. As far as you and I with Joshua Kelly, I guess there was a little bit of some difference. For me, I went a little bit more on Kelly because I have Eckler. And so I liked, the prospects of Joshua Kelly, but then the fact that I have Eckler, if he were to go down with an injury, I guess, so I was kind of probably like with Bruce, he was getting Gore, I kind of have a little bit more interest or vested into that backfield. So it's probably why, I was spending a little bit more on that. But always interesting. Week 1, a lot of spending, and we got the whole season to go, so there will be other guys that will emerge, no doubt, as we come along. So,
all right, cool. All right, man. Well, we're going to go on to the week 2 predictions.
Yes.
So let me get everything set up. Why don't you go ahead and talk about something?
talk about something. All right. Well, this week 2, of course, we have all Thursday night games now. So you always have to get ready for Thursday. The tough thing about our lineup, with the decisions is the injuries. That's been one of the frustrating things, I think, with just no preseason and just how vague some of the injuries have been. And when the reports come out, it seems, I don't know, to me, it just seems challenging. I'm looking at other guys that aren't even on my team where it's like, they're not going to play. It looked like Mike Evans wasn't going to play. And then all of a sudden he was upgraded questionable when he plays. Didn't do much of anything. But it just makes it really tough. So, you really have to try to plan, go for plan B. And maybe sometimes you just need to do that, with guys like that are hurt. And, so, but as we go into this week, looking at the games, Richard, who do you want to start with on our matchups?
We're going to go with Dwayne and Josh. And why don't you go ahead and start us off, and I'll come in behind you.
Okay, so Josh off a big week right now. He is actually CBS is projecting Darrell to win. I don't really love either team this week, and I only say that because there's some really tough matchups. James Conner's a question mark for Josh. Deshaun Watson has a fairly tough matchup this week. So I don't love it. The Patriots defense are playing Seattle, not the greatest. You look at Darrell. The Panthers playing the Bucs, and hopefully he gets a new defense. The one big bright spot for Darrell, we talked about the rookies. Well, Jonathan Taylor now has the golden opportunity in front of him to be an awesome running back for the Colts, along with Naeem Hines. So, they're picking they're picking Daryl this week over Josh, and this one's really tough. But Richard, I'm going to stick with Josh for this week.
Okay. I'm going to give Daryl another shot.
Okay.
Baltimore is a good defense, first of all.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be. It might be a shootout. I don't know. Deshaun Watson's going to be throwing the ball a bunch because they're going to be behind. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same script as last week for them, and that's the problem. Mahomes in Kansas City just outscored them, and Watson really needed DeAndre Hopkins, who's no longer there, and I just think it's going to be the same story this week as it was last week for him. So I really think Dak Prescott's going to outscore him. James Conner being out, it's going to be a big issue for Josh. So I really think Daryl's going to win it based off that alone, based off those two facts. And we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of my thoughts.
Okay.
Next up, we're going to do John versus Jonathan.
Man, oh man. CBS is putting a big victory for Jonathan for this week. I still, Jonathan has some question marks this week. Again, Chris Godwin and concussion protocol. Devontae Parker is both those guys are looking iffy with injuries or very questionable. But even all that said, I still like Jonathan to keep rolling this week. Just looking at the rest of his roster, John Mack's made adjustments. Naeem Hines is set up to be. He was great last week, and looks like he's going to be one of those guys that got later in the draft. And he's somebody that looks like he's going to be kind of like that Austin Eckler kind of role for Phillip Rivers, and so you can expect good things from him. But I just like Jonathan, even though he's got question marks and he might not score as much as they're predicting for him. I think Jonathan keeps rolling.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's going to be Jonathan. This week one was very good for him. I don't see him slowing down at all. Kittle and Parker are going to be are definitely question marks. You look at his bench, and if he had to switch him out, he's got Antonio Gibson as a possibility. We'll see if he comes out this week. He didn't last week, but maybe he'll come out this week. It's a possibility. He's got Snell, like we talked about, as a possibility. Position, I don't know what he's going to do there because I don't think he has a tight end unless I'm overlooking somebody. So if that ends up to where he needs to get a tight end, I don't know. He's going to have to go to the waiver wire, it looks like, to get a tight end. So we'll see what happens there. But that's going to be game day decision for that. So, but yeah, I pick even without. I think no offense to John Mack, but I really do think that Jonathan's going to pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate for John Mack that I think that's what's going to happen. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, and Jonathan has Jonnu Smith as his backup tight end, and he had a great start, so or a pretty good start, I should say. Yeah. So Jonathan needs to. He can just go to Jonnu Smith, and yeah, I like Jonathan's depth on his roster, so I'm still going Jonathan.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we're going to go to Bruce and Aaron.
Yeah, so both coming off a loss. Some tough losses for them. Aaron obviously the high score, but even Bruce, his game was definitely there, was winnable. They're projecting Aaron to win in a close victory over Bruce, and I got to go with Aaron. I went with him last week. But I just really think Bruce, the thing right now is his running backs. Running backs, I'm not seeing a lot of production from them, at least for this week. And I think it's going to be tough. And Aaron really had a great week last week, and I like him over Bruce.
Aaron did have a pretty good week last week. I think DeAndre Hopkins showed that he can do really well in the new system that he was in, which was awesome. Patrick Mahomes, I think, is necessary to do really well, to have Bruce come in But the running backs are still the issue. We'll see what Bruce does to be able to address it. But yeah, I think Aaron's going to win just because the running backs for Bruce are so lackluster that I don't think Patrick Mahomes can make up for it with Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to the other old man showdown.
All right, Donald and PC. PC coming off the high scoring week, and Donald coming off a victory as well. So this is for the early a real division lead here to go to 2-0. And Donald got off to a great start. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was everything that people were talking him up to be. And so that's helping Donald a lot. And even Todd Gurley, got off to a good solid start for Donald. So he's doing pretty good, strong there. Juju, as you mentioned, got his team up. And then PC, I mean, talk about receivers, tight end. This one's a tough one. This one is really tough because I really like both teams this week a lot, for their matchups. And, but if I'm picking, I picked against Richard. I picked against PC last week. But it's hard. It's hard. I'm looking at this. Do I pick against Donald or I pick PC? But I think PC is going to keep it going. So I think Devontae Adams is going to have another big game. Detroit's cornerbacks are dealing with injuries, and they were, they struggled obviously Sunday, Chicago's comeback. So I like PC again, or not again, but I like him this week.
Yeah, I agree. It seems too close to call on this week. Last week, I think I picked against PC as well, because I remember calling his. He was 2 in a row. He was going to be losing, but he proved me wrong. He won last week. But I did pick Donald to win, and Donald did win. So it's kind of like, well, when they're matching up together, 2 winners. So one of them's going to go 2-0 after this week. And it's tough to say. I think I'm going to pick Donald again, though. 2 reasons. Minshew is awesome. Minshew mania is real. But Tom Brady or Drew Brees, I think both are possibilities to definitely outscore Minshew. Minshew's a good start, though. There's no fault in that. Singletary didn't. It's questionable what's going on in Buffalo as well. I mean, having Josh Allen there and running in the touchdowns is a real issue. The possibility it's kind of like Cam Newton having the same thing, which is good for me, but for Singletary, it's it can be it can affect him. Cook is awesome. Adams is awesome. Gallup is awesome. Kelsey, I mean, PC's lineup is really good, but I just think Donald's is just going to be a little bit better this week.
Okay. All right.
Let's go to Nathan versus Dwayne, or Dwayne versus Nathan, as it says on the screen.
Yes. All right. So the two, who I thought were the 2 kind of favorites for the division. Nathan coming off just a tough week, and Nathan, not the start Nathan wanted. Leonard Fournette roller coaster, and I didn't mention this before. AJ Brown, who I was touting as an MVP pick here for a wide receiver, just not a good start. Concerning, considering how much Tennessee threw the ball, and AJ Brown just was not a good week. So that's going to be something to watch as just moving forward, because that was one of the big questions with Brown. Was he going to get enough targets, and was he going to be able to repeat last year for a full season? So, but looking at Dwayne, Dwayne is just, like I said, getting healthy. He's got Mike Evans in. Mike Evans is, hopefully he's healthy enough. Just looking at some of these matchups, Nathan obviously is looking for more from Evan Ingram. He had a really disappointing showing. Tyler Higbee wasn't great either. So that's going to be an interesting matchup for me that I'm watching this week. But here's my deciding factor, Richard, for Nathan and Dwayne, because this one is actually the closest. It's 2 points right now. I'm going to pick Nathan this week. And the reason I'm picking Nathan this week is because of his running backs. I think that Alvin Kamara and Derrick Henry are going to have great games, like big games. I think, if you look at Derrick Henry playing Jacksonville. He's terrorized them for the last couple of years. Even last week, I mean, the running backs went wild for the Colts against Jacksonville. So I think Henry's going to have one of his signature games where, he gets probably 2 touchdowns, a bunch of yards. Kamara, now that, Michael Thomas is out, I can see Kamara getting more pass catching volume. And he's playing Las Vegas, not the greatest defense. It's on Monday Night Football. So I just think his running backs are going to have big weeks. And so I'm looking for Nathan to edge out against Dwayne.
Yeah, I'm looking through this, and it's a real toss-up. I think Ben Roethlisberger has the edge against Matthew Stafford. The running backs, I think Nathan has got has got the win with the running backs. We'll see what Cleveland does this week when they bounce back. Are they going to be a committee with Chubb and the other guy? I can't think of it at the moment.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. We'll see what happens with those two. So that, I mean, it could be that Chubb is a stinker again this week, but it could be that he bounces back and does great and breaks off a long run against Cincinnati. It's very possible. Yeah, this is really tough. At the beginning of the season, we talked about Dwayne versus Nathan, as you stated, which one's going to win the division. And I think we picked Nathan because of various reasons, but I think we inevitably switched to Dwayne at the end because of the developments of the roster cuts. So I picked the division winner that I predicted after the fact, or I think I changed to last week. I'm going to go with Dwayne. It's really a toss-up, but that's who I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Dwayne.
Okay.
All right. Well, this next one is none other than the Tuna Buzz Showdown. You and me, we're playing against each other. Obviously, you're going to pick yourself. I'm going to pick myself. I don't know how we want to break this down. I guess maybe we'll talk about the one person that we want to see a lot from, and maybe one person that we're scared of. I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
I am scared to death of Lamar Jackson. I think anybody. I'm going to say Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews combination. I'm scared of what that's going to do against Houston. And I'm not excited about experiencing that. As far as what I'm hopeful, I'm hoping that Joe Mixon shows up this week against Cleveland. Last week it was shown that Cleveland can be scored on. Let's go ahead and do that, Joe. That's kind of the two things that I'm looking at and wishing and hoping for. I hope it's not as bad in Baltimore and that Mixon shows up. And I honestly haven't decided between my quarterbacks, just to let you know, Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers. Right now I'm leaning Josh Allen, but it's, Aaron Rodgers is not far behind, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah.
I guess, from my side, Richard, I kind of look at either one of your quarterbacks. I mean, they have great matchups, and I think they're going to just either one. I mean, they should both be great this week. So, if I'm looking at, I've got Lamar Jackson, but I'm looking at either one of your quarterbacks. They were great last week. They got great matchups this week. So that's something I kind of look at and say, do I really have, as far as just, quarterback to quarterback, do I really have an edge this week just based on, the matchups alone? And so I'm definitely watching that. I'm kind of weary of that. I am actually the other one, this is probably going to surprise you, but last week if we were playing each other last week, I would have said I'm not really concerned about it. But one of my other concerns is Jared Cook. And not that necessarily he's going to just go and, outscore Andrews, which, it can. Tight ends go off all the time. But just for the simple fact that Michael Thomas is out. And I know they got Emmanuel Sanders who'll get more, but I also think that's going to benefit Jared Cook. And so, he's somebody that specifically right now I think is going to be a beneficiary of that. So that's somebody I'm concerned about. Whereas last week I said, I'm not even worried. That would have been, somebody I just said, okay, that's definitely, in my favor. So those are just, I think, between your quarterbacks and their matchups and Jared Cook, I'm leery because a lot of your other guys, again, you have great players, and you have a good roster on your or good depth on your roster that you obviously have to pick through different things. What I want to see more from my team, DJ Moore. I was hyping up all of Mark Andrews, and I know I'm on that whole spiel, whole stick. But DJ Moore was actually my first pick, my first pick, and he was a disappointment last week. And so I'm really looking for more from him because last week he had opportunities, but it is concerning. Especially when that's your first pick, and we already we talked about my receiving core was among the weakest going into the season. So I'd like to see more from DJ Moore on my side.
I want to just do a quick follow-up. I wanted to just explain one thing. I talked about I'm scared about Lamar Jackson. As you can see in my flex, I do have a Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. Mm-hmm. And so he definitely benefits from Lamar Jackson if he gets the ball. The reason I didn't bring that up actually was because Miles Sanders is on my bench. We'll see if Miles Sanders gets the start, but if he does, or if he's able to play and he's not going to be limited in his touches, and it looks hopeful, that's a probable thing that I might switch those two out. We'll see what happens, but that's the reason why I didn't bring it up. But right now, Hollywood's in there until I hear more about Sanders.
Yeah, that's something I'm watching too, because obviously Sanders, like I said, we talked about your three running backs, and so yeah, that's something I'm definitely watching. I'm excited to watch it. It's this week in our game, and some really good matchups. So we'll see who gets to trash talk who next week.
Yeah, I might need that horn if I win.
The horn. I don't know if I could, I don't mind like sharing and doing it for some things for you. I don't know if I want to do it in my misery and defeat, but
maybe I need to find my own. I'm not going to do my own horn just yet, though, as it were.
Yeah.
Pun not intended.
All right, Richard, what do we, let's see, what's next here?
I think that's it, man. I think we're good for the week. We've been able to cover the good, the bad, the smelly. We were able to – we wanted one more thing. I forgot. Reed, we wanted to do a new segment for yourself.
Oh, yes. Yes. What did you title it, Richard? I'm anxious to find out.
So am I. I didn't title it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Tunavites, I really didn't prepare for this. I just said, about 5 minutes going in, hey, Richard, I'm doing this new thing. And so we just wing everything. So nothing is planned. We just you can tell.
We're only three.
Okay, we are Richard, right? We're calling it like. Are you typing it right now, Richard? Is that what you're doing?
I'm ready. Sorry, my face is so close. I'm sorry.
Oh, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Tunavites, every week I'm going to be doing Reed's fishy take, I think is what we're calling it. And so here's my fishy take for from week one, okay, going into this next week. All right, Tunavites, week one, we were excited. Football came back. We were watching all the different guys, the failures, the injuries, the guys that surprised us, as we saw even with the free agent bidding. But here's the takeaway. I think we've got to be, when you look at week one, you find things out from certain players about certain guys, but week one, you need to take it all with a grain of salt. Okay. Sure. There are some things that you can take and say, hey, this after week one, this changes, right? Jonathan Taylor. Okay. He was a guy that, Marlon Mack got hurt. Now Jonathan Taylor looks awesome for the rest of the season because of his role. You can throw the name Hines in there. Okay. Those are things you can take away, and, you don't have to worry about that, right? Like that happens. So that really changes. But then there's other guys that just don't perform as well. And you can't just take week one and just say, hey, this is how it's going to be all season. Remember, fantasy football is a week-to-week deal, okay? Week to week is just trying to get a win, and it changes. We could go back and look at the good, the teams that had played a good matchup, played a really bad defense. They were awesome. They were great. Doesn't mean that team and those players are going to be like that every single week. Just like, teams that played tough defenses, it doesn't mean that they're going to be bad like that every week. Matchups are so important. So as much as we go for the free agent bidding, and there are things we take away from week one, the big thing is we can't panic. You can't panic because we can go and just think, oh man, I've got to change everything. There's some things that we changed, but there's other things you got to watch. You got to give it a couple weeks to see, hey, is this just a 1 week rough start, or is this a trend? Is this guy going to be a bust for the season? And is this guy who went off, to start, the season, is he going to be a breakout? Is he going to be a guy that all of a sudden I can rely on? You got to give it a couple weeks to really see. And by the time you get to week 3, week 4, then some things start to become clear, not just with the injuries. So hang in there. It's a long season. It changes. It is a roller coaster, and every week it changes. So what this last week, next week, it could be completely different. And, you might be feeling great about your team, and then all of a sudden you're feeling terrible. And you might be feeling terrible about your team from week 1, and then week 2, you're on top of the mountain, and you're like, let's go win a championship. So hang in there, Tunavites, and just keep watching and be patient. Yeah.
No fire sales, even though I might want to.
No fire sales. Yeah. Trading everybody. Everybody's for sale.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all Tunavites for today. Best of luck this week, and stay fishy out there. And Richard, I'll see you next week, and we get to talk about our great head-to-head matchup.
Sounds good, man. See ya.
All right. See ya.